morning. I have no real idea what I'm going to talk about. I think it's going to be very messy. I was thinking, what am I going to talk about today? Should I bother talking or what? So I was just going to kind of have a general check-in with you, because obviously sometimes we forget that not everybody follows this page or knows me when I pop up, so doesn't know very much about me. So basically my name is Anne-Marie Cassidy. And I'm a hypnotherapist of various kinds, but mainly a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, and also somebody that has survived diagnoses of things like depression, like anxiety, like anorexia. I wonder how many other diagnoses I've had. Plenty probably. I have actually requested my medical records from 0 to 21, but I haven't quite dared look at them yet, because I'm kind of dreading the things that certain doctors over time will have said about me, but one day I will tackle that. I did kind of download the file today, so that's kind of on my to-do list to kind of, because I think in the last few years I've kind of been on this real journey to really understand myself as a human being, and all the labels that were put on me and everything that happened to me and how it's made me who I am. And all of that, because if you don't know, kind of, I was the youngest child of 6, and by the time of 12, I got school phobia, and I came out of school, never got back to school, was never successfully treated by conventional means, and then that kind of had a lifelong impact on me up until my mid-30s. From age 21, for about 17 years, I went to dog shows, I showed dogs, bred dogs, groomed dogs, judged dogs. That was a big chunk of my life, and then hit my late 30s and thought, gosh, I'm still struggling with these same things. What am I going to do about it? This isn't working out for me now. I need to kind of be financially stable. I need X, Y, and Z. What am I going to do? And I think that's true for a lot of women and men probably, that you hit your late 30s, early 40s, and you start to think, what is my life? What am I going to do? You start to think about what is remaining that you need to sort out, and that's what happened to me. And I had a lot of health things happen along the way. I had a very bad time with menopause. I was quite suicidal through menopause for a few years there, and dealt with it on my own, really. There wasn't support available, or there wasn't the interest, if you like. I think because of what happened to me when I was young and my life taking such an unusual turn, that nobody really ever questioned what was going on with me or how it was affecting me. It was like everybody around me kind of just got on with their lives. I was just like this oddity that nobody questioned. You know, like when normal things happen to people, like going through the menopause, or you're having a certain time with something, or you lose your chance to have children, or you don't get married, or whatever it is, usually someone in your life comes to you and says, how do you feel about that? You know, do you need to talk? And that never happened to me. And I don't know about other people's families, but I can only, speak to my own. And the family was a lot like that. You don't ask awkward questions. You don't check in on people's feelings. We were kind of brought up or naturally inbred in us, whatever you want to call it, to be quite insular, to cope with your own things, do your own thing, not really check in with each other. And I think me as the last child along, I think there's always something very different about me, for sure. I recently had a psychic reading done on me, so like the tarot cards and a bit of Akashic records and stuff, and the first thing she said to me was that I was a star seed, and it instantly made me cry, because one of the defining things about star seeds is they always feel very alone in this world. So I'm still kind of sitting with that and not reading too much into it or anything like that, or not trying to feel extra special or anything like that, but it's there in my mind, and also saying things like I'd had persecution in previous lives and things. It's all very interesting and something I'm going to read into more. I kind of define myself as somebody that's interested in all of these things. I mean, I was raised a Catholic, so religion, I don't go to church or anything like that, and I'm kind of more and more moving away from the whole Catholic ideology, and have been doing for, God knows how many years now, but it's always there. I didn't have a bad experience with the church as such, and we had a lot of priests coming through the family, so I'm not like some people that have had really negative experiences with it. You know, I've been lucky in that sense. But, you know, the restrictive nature of it has never appealed to me, and not being allowed to believe in certain other things as well, because I've always been open to lots of things. I think the only thing I've not really experienced is ghosts. I'm still on the fence over ghosts, but I believe in spirit. I believe in so many things, and I'm open-minded. But I like it when you can have some scientific proof behind it. And what I'm finding more and more interesting about the field of work I got into, and I got into this work because of that journey from 38 onwards, where I was really, really struggling and desperately, you know, having given up on conventional medicine and desperately trying to find the answer for myself. I tried all kinds of things, from functional medicine, all kinds of supplementation, diet, cutting out sugar, cutting out alcohol, stabilising your blood sugar, acupuncture, anything and everything. I was throwing kind of every penny I had at it, basically, in a desperate bid to save my life, basically, because I was really, really, really desperate. I used to take myself for walks, and I'd go, I think I've said it before, I'd go along rivers and things, and I'd look for spots where I could, you know, just go in, you know, one dark night or whatever it was. It was that low. And I think a lot of people, a lot of women have that during the menopause, that any unresolved trauma that you've ever had, it kind of all coalesces when your hormones are all over the place. And it's like living in fight flight your whole daily existence. It's just hanging by a knife edge, and a lot of women experience that every month if they have I can't think of its long name, PMDD. So it's that dysphoria where it's really vivid, it's really intense sensations, and it's like that life and death thing, and every tiny thing is like cataclysmic. And it does stem back to all this trauma you've had that's never been resolved, and your hormones, when you're in fluctuation, it just brings it all to the forefront and smacks you right in the face with it. So I kind of went on this desperate search for the answer, and feeling like I was on a time clock as well, like I was running out of time. And RTT was kind of the last thing that I came across, but funnily enough, it was one of these things, and I do get deja vu and things like that. I've often had it. And as soon as I heard about RTT, came across it, I thought, I feel like I know this. Like I've seen it before. Marissa Peer was familiar to me, even though I'd not come across her before. There was just something about it, like I felt like I'd seen at least 10 or so years earlier, and it hadn't existed at that point. So it just instantly appealed to me, and I had it for myself. And I've said it before, the first thing I noticed was that instantly overnight all negative self-talk about myself stopped. So you imagine, for somebody that's suicidal and looking for a place where they're going to end it all, to get that, for starters, is immensely reassuring, and gives you a strong foundation to go on. And it did resolve a lot for me, not everything, because I think we'd probably tried to tackle too much in one session, but it certainly moved the needle. And it made me decide to kind of do it for myself. I knew I couldn't do it straight away. There were certain things going on, but I knew as soon as I got an opportunity, there was a strong chance that I was going to train in it for myself. I found it so impressive, which is what I did after my mum died, and I was kind of trying to move up here to Scotland. I managed to slot the training in a 6-month period, do it quite intensively. And completely overhauled my life. I can't imagine ever being suicidal again. I can't, it's not like life is perfect or anything like that, but everything is completely different now. What is remaining in me, because the title of this was, what do I feel like I still need to work on? And it's to really be all of me, and not to hide any aspect of me, any element of me, because I was brought up to kind of be very book smart, you know, oh, Anne-Marie's going to go to university, this, that and the other. And I think part of the problem for me was that I wasn't meant to be like your textbook intellectual, go to university. I think I was meant to be quite woo-woo and out there and do something different. I like writing and things like that, so I'm imaginative, I'm creative. But you know, from being a child, it was very much placed on me that I was the intellectual one. And through all of this self journey, if you like, I think, I don't know if I was ever meant to be the A-star student. And maybe that's part of the reason why at 12 I was starting to think, I don't know that this is, who am I? What, I can't do this. Because part of the problem that was happening at school was that I would sit in lessons and just feel completely overwhelmed and like nothing was going in, and just terrified of the consequences and all of this. So maybe part of that was that it wasn't meant to be for me, that I was going down a road that I couldn't sustain. And maybe that's why there was a wig out at 12. It was something in me saying, this isn't for me, this isn't my path. I don't meet other people's expectations, I need to be me. And I had always felt alone, right from being a child, like being alone amongst all these people and nobody really wanting a bar of me, you know, just being this burden. Let's take Anne-Marie there, take Anne-Marie there. Oh, I don't really want to. Can I do something? You know, I've got my own things to do. You know, that kind of thing. I never felt that cared for as a child, you know, and I was loved. There's no two ways about it, but I didn't feel... there were so many of us, I think I felt surplus to requirements, you know. So kind of sometimes in my life now today, I'm very aware that there's still that element of the kid that came out of school at 12. And do I have the right to be telling you all how it is, you know what I mean? And being the expert and all of that. And we all have kind of this imposter syndrome within us, but for me it shows up as an occasional naivety about things. I do tend to think, you know, assume that everybody's motivations are good straight off the bat, you know what I mean, and kind of get a surprise later down the line. I do like to think good of most people wherever possible. And of course, sometimes just not finishing your education in the textbook way. I sometimes feel like my history knowledge and the things that I should know about, like world wars and such, I kind of feel this I should know sensation about it, yet at the same time there's lots of subjects that I can't imagine being bothered. No, I don't mean about the world wars, but you know, I mean, somebody would say, well, go off and read a book about it, but they can't be asked. I don't want to read a book about it. So whether it's a part of me that still rebels over formalised learning, I don't know. You know, there's not many biographies I'd want to pick up and read. I like fiction. I like imaginative and things being a little bit out there, I suppose. When it comes to working with you, don't worry, I do straddle the line. If you're not spiritual at all or anything like that, we can do it in a very just by the book, the science. Because hypnotherapy is science. We've discovered more and more. Hypnotherapy kind of has been around since like the 1800s, something like that, if not earlier. And it is a very science-based process, and we're learning more and more all the time, just how much it is. And the more I learn and read, the more science and spirituality are coming together now. You know, it's starting to be provable that everything boils down to your subconscious mind and your ability at any given time, at any given second, to start rewiring your mind and your thoughts. And when you rewire your mind and your thoughts and change your habits, beliefs, behaviours, symptoms, triggers off the back of that, then you're out there in the world taking different actions. And when everybody, say if everybody was doing that everywhere in the world, chose to rewire their mind to the positive, and they were all out there taking different actions, different behaviours, all of that, then the whole world would change basically. And there's nothing woo-woo about that. that is perfect synchronicity, if you like. And everything ties in with the power of your subconscious mind. So spirituality does, your law of attraction does, manifestation, all of that. It all comes back to your power to rewire your subconscious mind, to just choose to have different thoughts. And if you're struggling with that, to do a process like Rapid Transformational Therapy and take 3 weeks of daily hypnosis recording to rewire your mind, basically. Actually, one of the things I was going to talk about, and any witches or pagans out there will forgive me because I don't pretend to be an expert in this, but you know, a lot of people are very skeptical about things like this. I mean, you've come across a pendulum or seen the idea of it before. I mean, some people think hypnotherapy is still swinging something above your eyes like that. We don't need to do that these days. Basically, hypnotherapy, to get you into hypnosis, it's something called, that Ali Campbell calls, who's a hypnotherapy professional and teacher. I'm sure he's got a better title than that, but they call it the loss of the multiplicity of the foci of the senses. Because how we get you into hypnosis is to drown out all other things going on. So we're getting you to focus your eyes on a specific point, and when you're doing that, you're not thinking about your sense of smell, taste, ears. You know, you just literally one point of focus, and that's how we start getting you into hypnosis. But I was going to show you the pendulum, because a lot of people poo-poo this, don't they? You know, I think they poo-poo anything to do with magic. But the thing is, this is about your intuition, and a lot of people poo-poo intuition, don't they? You know, they don't want to know about their intuition. But your intuition is listening to your gut. Your gut is your second brain, basically. So anything that you get a sensation from your gut that tells you something isn't right, and it's not right, you need to be able to listen to it. You know what I mean? That's also a fact. But yeah, how you can use a pendulum, you know, you're not tapping into spirit necessarily here. I mean, I'm sure some people do use it to do that. But for your average, common, everyday person, if you're struggling like with a decision, you're in two minds, you don't know where to start with something, you wish your mind had just choose a yes or a no, then you might find something like a pendulum really, really useful. Because the thing is, it will tap into your subconscious mind, what your subconscious beliefs are about something. You need to do a little bit of training with it first, so you need to hold your hand very still. And you need to ask it to show you what a yes looks like and what a no looks like. And you ask it yes first, and it'll start going in a particular way, either clockwise, anti-clockwise. It might go in a line, forwards and back. So just make a note of that, and then ask it what a no looks like. And hold your hand as still as you can. You know, don't try to influence it, just hold it like that. And it will show you what a no is. And it might also show you what a maybe is if you choose to do that as well. But what that actually is doing is, if you start practicing this, it's a very good way of tapping into your subconscious mind and what's going on with it. It's sort of similar to what we could do in hypnosis, where we might ask your subconscious mind to indicate by moving a finger on either your right hand or your left hand. But what it'll do is, if you ask your mind a question, it's not that some spirits, you know, the kind of spirits that come through a Ouija board, a sudden, mind you, Ouija board's similar thing. It's not like spirits coming through and doing that, if you like. What it is your subconscious mind knows the answer to whatever you're saying, and it will send little micro signals, you know, from your mind through all your nerves and your vessels and whatever. And you, unbeknownst to you, who's trying to keep your hand as still as possible, you will be making micro movements that are signals from your subconscious mind, and it will give you that yes or no answer that you're looking for. So is it woo-woo? Not particularly. Is it nonsense? No, certainly not. Is it science? Kind of, yeah. It's all of it, you know, in a way. It's all of it. And that's what I kind of want you to get you to thinking. You know, don't dismiss magic, don't dismiss people who do paganism and these kinds of things, because all spells is putting your intention to something and using like some visual cues and like herbs or whatever people use to give power to that intention. But it's working with your subconscious mind, because anytime you put your focus on something, all of your intention on something, you are likely to make it happen. So whether that's good or bad, you know, energy flows where attention goes. I think that's the saying. So we as human beings, you know, if you want to say magic is nonsense, you're actually dismissing yourself as a human being, basically, because you are magic. You're capable of miracles. You're capable of bringing into your life what you want to have. Because all you need to ever do at any given time is put your attention on the things that you want to have in your life and not the things that you don't want to have in your life. That's the really, really important thing, and that's what I bang on to you about. You know, a friend of mine who doesn't like that I occasionally say things like this, but you know, she's very self-deprecating. So even though she's really, really she's come on leaps and bounds, there's still that occasional tendency to say something about her is silly. It's kind of trying to do a fail-safe. It's kind of trying to protect yourself from not succeeding just in case. So you kind of slightly say something, oh, my silly such and such, you know, and silly is not such a bad word as things go when it comes to reprogramming your mind, but it's still kind of telling your mind that that thing that I do is a bit of nonsense. It's not a real thing. And I understand the motivations. It is that self-protection thing. It's like, well, if I kind of say, this is really good, this is what I want to do, I'm clever at this, I'm smart, look how unusual this is, look how individual and unique it is, but then I don't make a success of it, then I'm going to have to live with that. So I know how I'm going to protect myself from that. I'm just going to say that it's a silly thing, just in case I can't make a go of it. But you're reverse engineering in the wrong way, you know what I mean? Because by downplaying your gifts and talents, you're telling your mind, I don't want this to go anywhere. So then your mind starts making movements, making sure it doesn't go anywhere. So that's why it's so important. And it is work, and not everybody wants to do the work. It's like even when you're going around in your day-to-day thing, or you're driving, or you're just daydreaming and you're letting your mind wander, really watch where those thoughts are going. What are you allowing? In which direction are you daydreaming? On negative stuff, the things that might happen that are negative, or are you managing to stay on the positive? Because basically in those moments where your mind is wandering during the day, you're hypnotizing yourself. So be very careful what you're hypnotizing yourself in, to make sure that it's something that you want. Make sure your mind's dwelling on positive things. Don't just allow the negative spiraling, you know what I mean? Really, really important. You know, anxiety really is just a thought process. It's you saying, I think, and future pacing and putting a negative spin on it. It's something that you're doing. It's not something that you have. Things like anxiety and depression. So, which is a really important distinction, because when you have anxiety, when you say that you have anxiety and depression, you feel like it's something that you've done, you know, like you've given yourself it or something like that. But you can take back your power on it when you realise that it's a set of actions. It's not a defining characteristic of you. So yeah, I encourage you to dive into some form of woo-woo and to realise that your existence on this planet is a whole lot of woo-woo, but it is science-backed. You know, it's based in science. And to really think about that power of your subconscious mind, because I wish I'd known about it a lot sooner. I could have saved myself all those years on medications and all of that made me put weight on, made me lose weight, you know, made me panic-stricken at times, made me feel like a leper, made me feel like there was something wrong with me. I mean, being put on medication as a young person made all the years that follow, made it very easy to dismiss anything that I ever said or did as me being a certain way. So, you know, don't kind of celebrate what she's doing or anything like that, because it's just a bit of nonsense really, because of her being anxious, being depressed, being on medication. When we've slapped labels like being depressed on people, and you as a human being just tend to think, well, that's what I am, you know, that's how I have to live my life now, my whole family is depressed or whatever, that's just who I am. When you live like that, people stop it's a horrible thing. People kind of stop expecting anything of you, and they dismiss the things that you do. And they also dismiss your feelings, because it's easy to say, oh, well, they only feel that way, or because of X, Y, and Z, you know, they've got depression, they're on medication, you can't take on board anything they're saying, you know, they're just off doing weird things, you know. Your hopes, your dreams, what it is to be you, gets dismissed. It's a horrible thing, you know. And that's kind of something that I've struggled with in my family, is to be taken seriously, because I have done different things, like written romance novels. And writing romance novels was kind of what got me through suicidal periods. At 38 was when I properly started writing. I always knew it was something I could do. But at 38, when I kind of was, you know, sliding into menopause, for some reason the writing popped up as the thing to do to get me through that period. It was really, really helpful. So I've got 3 books on Amazon, and I've been in the middle of writing another one for ages. The hypnotherapy kind of took over. But yeah, I've always been very different. And because of the thing that happened to me at 12 and being put on antidepressants and that, it was really very easy for me to be picked out as the weak one in the family, and the one that was a bit weird and a bit odd, and to have my opinions on things dismissed, you know. And that can happen to you when you've had like a diagnosis of depression or anxiety. People tend to look at you a certain way if it's known, and that stigma's never gone anywhere. You know, they say about it being easier these days to tell people that you have a mental health condition. It's not. People are still looking at you, you know, more or less in the same way as they ever did. And I don't like to talk about mental health conditions. I prefer to speak of it as emotional health, because it's these things are generally things that are because it's something has happened to you. These things don't just happen, you know, don't just come upon you for no reason. It happens to you because something has happened to you, and that's an important distinction, because you're not at fault. You're not chemically weird in your brain and all of these things we get told. So that's me, basically. I'm quite open-minded, but I do like to have some research behind things. I like to know that I always say I'm very open-minded. I'm in that right side of my mind type thing, but I also like to have a foot in logic, and to know that there's proper backing behind it when I'm going to do something. And so I feel like I'm a good person to work with, because I'll work all the angles on your behalf, basically. And, you know, I've been through a lot in my life. I've survived a lot. I've experienced a lot. So you can come to me with anything, and I'm not going to overreact or judge you or think it's nonsense or anything like that. You know, I'm a person that's been told basically that my feelings didn't matter a lot in my life. So I'm never going to have somebody come to me with a feeling and tell them it's nonsense. You know what I mean? I know it's stemming from something very, very real that's happened to you. So I hope that was helpful, and I would encourage you all to do something that's a bit woo-woo in your life, and definitely to watch those thoughts you're having and where they're steering you, because it's like working with the pendulum. When you put your attention on something, even if it's something negative, your mind starts working on how to achieve that for you. So if it's something positive, it works to achieve that something positive. If it's negative, it works to achieve that negative for you. It'll start taking little micro actions, just like the pendulum, and it'll start swinging you either in the negative direction, or it'll swing you in the positive direction. And you will, because you've put your mind on either positive or negative, if you've gone the positive way, you will see positive things reflected back to you. But if you put your mind on the negative and allow it to go off down that path, then you will see negative things. Because what you put your attention on, you will see more of, as well as bring more of into your orbit, into your sphere. So just to have a little think about all that. And at any time you can book a free call with me at charmedlifetherapy.co.uk, and we can get your mind rewiring to the positive, to your benefit. You know, even in your day-to-day life, while you're not even aware of it, it'll be going on for the positive instead of the negative. All right, I will see you later.